so funny because there were so many things in that I just wanted to respond to. Like, for one thing, how many people actually weekly keep track of their traffic or know the percentage of how many people are opening their newsletters? This stuff is really important. Good. Lots of hands. That's good. It's really important, and it's a really important thing to be able to look at that and say, okay, what's working and what's not. I think that one of the wonderful things about Google Analytics that's worth pointing out is that you can look at what keywords people are, or what keywords people are searching for that bring them to their site. You know, for us, oftentimes it's actually our authors' names, which was great to see. So I think that's a really important thing. We also do a podcast, and it's been slow going. There's some things that you're going to do that you're going to look at and say, I feel like I spent a lot of time on this, and I don't know if it's paying off. And that kind of leads to my next question. As a book publicist, I do still get authors who are not particularly web savvy, but they want to be, and they want to start a blog. But I've definitely had authors who've started blogs, and they write, and they write, and they write, and they're like, I'm not getting any comments. I think I maybe get 50 people who come accidentally to my site every month. You know, what am I doing wrong? And I've had various different responses from people, or various different responses to people based on what they're writing and stuff. You know, with one I said, I asked him if he was commenting on other people's blogs, and he said, well, no. And I said, why is it that everybody should come to your blog but you shouldn't go to anybody else's? So a lot of internet or the things that happen online is about that reciprocation. But I wondered if somebody is starting a blog, or if they have a blog and it's struggling, what's something that you guys would suggest that they do to sort of boost their traffic, boost their comments and their interactions?
I have a bunch of suggestions because I teach a class about blogging at the Brada. I mean, the first thing is to write great blog posts, not just to whip off something about, you know, what you ate for breakfast. I mean, to have a focus to your blog, to write really strong blog posts. They don't have to take 10 hours, but to write something that's really substantial and that people really want to read. Something that's informational is helpful. Personal stories can also be helpful if they can teach something to people about writing or publishing or whatever you're writing about. Commenting on other people's blogs is huge, and I think that people, it's like they want to think they're above that, oh, well, if I'm really popular, I don't have to go to other people's blogs in order to get comments on mine. But that's huge, and definitely the people that I see who have the most comments are people who are out there commenting. But it depends on what matters to you. If you're more interested in stats or comments, there are blogs that have very, very high stats and have few comments. And there are blogs that have a lot of comments that don't have very high stats. So it depends whether comments are important to you. I also recommend blogging on a schedule. I think having some kind of regular schedule, whether it's every day or twice a week or once a week or even once every 2 weeks, I think that's really important. I do think a minimum of once a week is important, but if you have something regular, it not only alerts your readers when to come back and check out your blog. If they know you're blogging Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they're going to come on those days to see what you have posted, but also it helps you to stay on schedule. Because I found that when I first started blogging, I did what everyone does, and I wrote 4 posts a week. And after 3 months, I got really burned out, and then I was writing 2, and then I missed a week, and then I missed another week, and I found that by cutting down to once a week, I'm able to keep that schedule and never miss a week. Whereas when I was trying to do too much, I would just drop out of the internet for a month at a time, and then people stop coming back. So I think being really consistent, having strong blog posts, and definitely giving back to the community by promoting other people's work and commenting on other people's blogs.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think a few things for me. One thing that I would say is that it really matters what kind of site, like what it is that you're doing, you know, and that you should try to have a good understanding of what your blog or your website offers, and then trying to figure out how to optimize that. You know, for instance, like with North Atlantic Books, I know that Kat has instigated a community there, and has started growing certain things that that are able to share kind of spotlights on different books and authors that they feature and that they publish. And the same thing with City Lights. You know, they have the podcast that they've started, and starting something new like that takes a little bit of time, you know, to figure out. And I would just say, not necessarily to rush into all these things. Like I personally do not pay attention to trends and to things that are happening. My main goal is not necessarily actually to establish a huge following, right? At least not right now. Right now, my goal is to figure out what it is that I currently offer and what I can offer and what I want to do. You know, to figure out what content is valuable to the community. And while of course stats do in some ways tell me that, I also know that like I know what will be effective. I know that if I go online and if I post an article, say I came to this and I filmed this and then I went home and posted it, if I shared it with certain people who'd be interested, you know, they might share it with their communities. And I'm not just going to go on and be like, you know, here's this thing I did, you guys, you vague kind of non-personal guys are going to enjoy this. You know, I might be like, well, I think this would be of interest to you for this reason, you know, or you might get something out of this. What do you think? I think asking people, you know, what they think about things is often a good way to get people to talk about them, obviously. I also think that it's good to make your posts personal, like personable. There's plenty of information on the internet, and I think that the form itself allows you to kind of do that, to put your personality into it, even if you're writing, like Megan said, like a highly researched blog post, you can still put yourself in it, and that makes it a lot more readable and a lot more likely for other people to respond to it, right? Because it's not such a dry, terse, report, so to speak. It's to think of it in terms of the conversation the whole way through, I think is very helpful.
You turn it off. Oh, it's on. Okay. So I have a lot of authors who feel. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Is this one? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. I just wanted to say something quickly about that. I don't do much blogging, and our website, while we do have interviews and podcasts and video, recorded video also, Nancy does all of that. We mainly use the website to just post the upcoming shows. But I'm very interested in this whole idea about blogging and about it being personal, what Evan was talking about. Because I recently, and I should have gathered this for you today, I recently read that the latest year's newsletters and email are what are the biggest ways to connect. That this is just never going to go away, and it is actually feels much more personal to people, even though, so we use MailChimp to send out our newsletter every month, and our industries, we're 33.33% higher than the industry stat for opens, which is also a little misleading because the fact is that if people, and most people do, or I do anyhow, if you use Google, you don't display your images. So this only records if people are, the clicks or the opens are known only if people actually have shown the image. So it's a little image in there. So I know that many more people are opening than that, because what happens is they actually email us back. And that's the point that I think is really, really important, that relates a little bit to blog comments. Many writers are not exterior people, and they would much rather relate one-on-one by writing an email back. Many are not going to go around and actually comment on blogs, because then it's out there forever, and they feel that they have to sit and craft some kind of fantastic comment. So, well, I know I very rarely comment on blogs because I really don't have the time to sit around. It's going to be out there for posterior's sake. I don't have the time to write some big, great comment that I'll feel like in 5 years I'm not going to be embarrassed about, or etc. And I know I'm not the only person. So often, writers are not going to comment on each other's blogs. However, they will email back. So that happens a lot, and I think it's really important to recognize how the personal, even though people do understand, I'm not just the only person getting this newsletter, it still somehow feels very personal. Like when you were in school and exchanged notes or whatever, you know, and I've started my own personal newsletter for, you know, classes I teach and my work and so on, and it's been really a wonderful experience. It's just really been quite fun, actually. So I think that's something to think about, is to go back to the idea, why do you really want to have this blog? Do you really need to have comments? Is that how you know that it's successful? You know, it's just really worth thinking about all of that. And I guess if you Google, you'll find that it was just like last week, this new article came out about how email and newsletters are really like the way to connect with people.